So you've seen the Micro Demon and all of those types of things, very, very small airplanes, but we may have taken it to an extreme. Let me get it in close so you can actually see that it's there. This is a 9.5-inch span version of the downscale, I guess, of the 6S Mini Demon that we built. So we're gonna find out if it flies. It has one aileron, if you can tell there. Everything else is fully functional. This is a 2S setup, brushless, all that. So who knows whether this will fly. So it's interesting. It doesn't fly too badly. It's a handful. Not gonna lie. Sorry, I can't keep it in real close. Okay, so I've got 3 flights on this now, and with the 200 milliamp batteries, it has much better punch. I don't think the 150s were charged all the way, but we'll do some more experiments with that. Anyway, now that I'm comfortable with it, the only trimming I did was to add a tiny bit of up trim. So let's see how this goes. I will mention, to aid my launches, I have a preset on my elevator. So
it's not. There it is.
Yeah, a little bit of up trim right there, and then I can let it go, and off it goes. Got a bug flying in my nose. Not nice. Alright, there we go. So, see if I can get a full throttle faster. A little bit of a whoosh there.
Sorry, guys.
There we go. So you've seen this airplane flying outside, and what I thought I'd do is show you some footage up close of it so we can explain to you kind of how this airplane works. It's a little hard to see all the goodies, but that is the back of the receiver right there. That's actually the back of it. The servo is in this area, and it's a Spektrum servo that the tabs have been cut off of. And I'm going to show you what that looks like on the aileron servo, because I actually use the aileron servo as a test bed for grinding off those tabs. So when we pop everything off, you have this right here. You can see where I've removed these tabs here, here, and on the other side. As a normal Spektrum servo, you can well, you can see the little mounting hole there, but the others have been pretty much have been cut off, so you can screw those in place. But the fuselage back here is so narrow that even with that done, I still have to fit the servo in at a 45-degree angle. Gear sits up at the front so that you don't have any clearance issues with the push rod. Actually, kind of the same deal that we have right here. And then I used the control horns for my wing and for my single aileron. Those are the control horns off of the Micro Demon. Scaling anything further down is not wise. I did, because that control horn is longer, I had to cut this little slot right here. And the purpose of this slot is to clear the push rod going through there. So everything back here is fairly conventional. I didn't put any varnish on it. I just sprayed paint directly on after a light sanding. The speed controller up here is a 6-amp Hobbywing, and it fits. I don't know how well you can see this, but the back of the ESC is flush with this bulkhead right here. And then the front of it actually comes up to right about here, and you can see I had some paint that sprayed through. That's the shrink tubing on the ESC in there. There is actually sufficient space up front that I was able to slide the wires through the hole on the firewall. This firewall is a scaled down Micro Demon firewall. The problem was that I had to drill new holes across the pairs of other old holes. I didn't do this firewall custom for this airplane. Not the best idea. Right here, rather than a 256 blind nut, I actually, in the sheeting that goes below this, the one that goes across, I embedded a 0-90 nylon screw or nylon nut, and then this is a 0-90. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that is a 256 nut, and this is a 256 nylon screw to save weight. So you could use technically could use the same thing that you use in the Micro Demon, but I wouldn't recommend it because of weight and whatnot. I did run these, this is my antenna, this black wire right here. I ran it forward because I didn't want to deal with having to thread that under my servo back here, because I was concerned about the big gear here rubbing against it and locking up. Blenderm tape for the hinges here and right here. And we have found that the flight characteristics, once you get everything trimmed out, the flight characteristics are fairly symmetrical actually with the with this crazy single aileron. It's actually quite good. My one complaint with these RCN power motors is that the screws for the propeller that come with them are too short for most of these propellers. So I ground off the front of this 3-blade gym fan. This is a 2540 3-blade gym fan. I don't think that's actually 4 inches pitch. I think it's 0.4 advance ratio. Could be wrong. But it definitely doesn't really look like 4 inches pitch. I'd like to have one that's legitimately 4 inches pitch, because that would be awesome. This says it's a 2535 prop. It is a little lower pitch angle. These are these little 2-piece props, so you can actually do it as a 2-blade or a 4-blade. They're a little fragile. I think the airplane's actually faster on this, but it has better acceleration with the 3-blade. flight times are good either way. I don't see any sag or anything. I can run this on wide open throttle for quite a while. I mean, you don't hold wide open throttle for long periods because it's small and it's very quick, which was the goal. But you fatigue fairly quickly, so you want to throttle it back and give yourself some time to calm back down, because pilot workload is quite high. Now, I will say the flying characteristics of this airplane are very, they're just like a larger one. It's just that it's small, and that does make things challenging. In terms of the wiring harness here, I just did a series wiring harness so I can run 1S200s, and I don't have any around here, but they pretty well fill this bay up. In fact, I'll come back and we'll have a look at that. Okay, so these are your battery packs, or individual cells, and so the way that you would put those in here is they fit in like this. There's just enough space up forward of those for the plugs to fit in. Although, yeah, there we go, like that. And so those plugs would tuck up there. However, excess wire can go above the batteries because, as I'll show you in a second here after I get these stowed, there is actually clear space above those batteries, and the servo only partly invades into that. So I'll close it back up. And you can see you've got actually quite a bit of space right there. And then that dark thing that's showing right there, that's the servo. It's actually on the other side. So, concluding on that, fun airplane, obviously, as y'all have seen. I have had a few people who've actually said, hey, I want like plans or kit for that. You people are crazy. That being said, check in the description below. There is a link to plans for this airplane. It's actually a product page for the airplane. And the plans are there, so you can download them. And a kit, and this is a very minimalist kit. The kit includes the 1/16 balsa for the flying surfaces. It includes your wing, and it includes plywood parts. I'm not including anything else. I'm not even including the nylon hold down bolt. That may change, who knows. Look and see. Depends on my supply of them. But here's the bottom line. If you really want it as a kit, it's available. It is an expert's airplane. Sorry, that's not true. This is not an expert's airplane. This is a specialist's airplane, and that's because, yes, somewhat, I'm not an expert pilot. I'm a good pilot. I'm not a good pilot. I'm an experienced pilot. I'm not a good pilot. So I know how to figure out what the plane's doing. I'm not that great at flying. But that being said, the issue with this airplane is not just the pilot workload, it's the maintenance workload. Linear servos have reliability issues. Fitment of all those electronics. Monitoring the condition of your wires, because I've got one that's fraying because of squeezing things in there. The fitment of all these parts, you know, yes, I laser cut this out, but the parts still require some fitment to be resolved. And with that kit, you're going to have to figure some things out yourself, like there is no rear bulkhead here like there is on the smaller planes. The wing pins are finicky, so you may end up having to cut your own, because after I made my first pair, very first landing, I sheared both of them off and had to make new ones I made them with scissors and 1/32 ply, honestly, and a little bit of sandpaper. You can see they don't fit quite as flush. But that being said, all of that is and I've got a fuselage side that's splitting open right here. Do I have any others? Yeah. So you got to monitor all of that stuff, because you can't, this is not an airplane you can get out of the box and say, oh yes, I'm going to get this out of the box and fly it. You've got to look it over and in detail make sure that it's flyable. And the workload just to get it to the point of flying it the very first time is kind of challenging. So that's why I say this is a specialist's airplane, because there's a little bit of a lifestyle associated with flying something like this, owning it, operating it. You can't treat it like a normal airplane. You can't treat it like a normal high-performance airplane. You have to treat it like what it is. It's a nano thing. And lastly, to those of you saying questions about, oh yeah, such and such is smaller. Yes, you are correct. There are planes that are smaller than this. This is the smallest airplane I think you can build on a practical basis that can achieve any significant speed. And the issue is they do not make servos significantly smaller than this that are capable of providing the necessary loads. I know of one source for servos that are smaller than this that might be trustworthy. They are $55 a piece. Actuators are not an option. You cannot go fast with actuators, and that's period. You can't, because they're not self-locking in any way, shape, or form. They don't have the torque. They can't resist flutter. So in terms of speed planes, you could theoretically go smaller than this. It would be exponentially more difficult to get the airplane to fly at all. And you won't get these speeds because you just can't pack the power in there. I mean, this is packed to the limit, and you're not going to be able to pack it any tighter. So with that said, questions, comments, put them in the comment section below. Try building your own if you are comfortable working with tiny stuff. I'd love to see more of these because they're kind of fun, and I'd like to fly with other people flying absurd things like this. And yes, my wife thinks I'm insane for building this, but she admits that it wasn't a terrible idea now. Hi, I'm Josh Finn. This is Hope. We are J&H Aerospace.
If you like this video, hit the like button.
Also, how about subscribe to our channel and check out jhaerospace.com for new free flight products and all of the tooling that you'll need to build them.
Thanks for watching.